No more than ever, I need you to do your part. Stay home, save lives.
This certainly might affect the future of our company depending on how long these measures are put in place for.
Our hospital system and our healthcare workers need us to continue doing remote learning.
A state of emergency, a stay-at-home order. Schools closed in our region until February. This as predictions that the pandemic is on course to overwhelm hospital ICUs early next month. I'm Chris Ensing. Thanks for joining us. The pandemic in Ontario is getting worse. More provincial restrictions as more people die of COVID-19 in Windsor-Essex. The health unit today reporting that 16 more people have died of COVID-19 as we edge closer to 10,000 cases in our region. What you're looking at is a busy chart. It was shared by the province today, but it's the easiest way to show how more people are getting sick in Windsor-Essex at a faster rate than anywhere in the province. This is the number of cases per week adjusted for the population. You can see Windsor-Essex at the top of your screen there in the yellow box. It's the highest. We've been the worst for weeks. And today we're seeing a rate that is twice as high as all but 5 other health units in Ontario. This here is the second chart that they shared, also busy, and it shows the percentage of tests coming back positive by health unit. The yellow box is Windsor-Essex, top of the chart once again. It's the highest rate in Ontario at 14%. It's trending higher. Ontario is now under a 28-day state of emergency, the second since the pandemic started. It's the latest effort to halt the rapidly rising number of COVID-19 cases. We're being asked to stay home as much as possible, and we're learning tonight schools in hotspots like ours will stay closed longer than expected. Queen's Park reporter Mike Crawley has more.
Well, good afternoon.
The Premier gets straight to the point.
Effective immediately, Ontario is declaring a state of emergency.
With COVID-19 threatening to overwhelm the province's intensive care units, Doug Ford's government is imposing an order to stay at home. The exceptions? You can get groceries, see a doctor, go to a pharmacy, exercise, or go to work if it's deemed essential.
I know the stay-at-home order is a drastic measure, one we don't take lightly. Everyone must stay home to save lives.
But no curfew, and Ford admits it wasn't really on the table.
I've never been in favor of a curfew.
Despite the order to stay at home and avoid non-essential trips, non-essential shops are not shut down. They just can't open before 7 a.m. and must close by 8 at night.
When it comes to enforcement, we're allowing more police officers, more bylaw officers to implement fines for bad actors.
For more than a month, much of the GTA and Windsor have been under what the government called lockdown, and yet the COVID numbers just kept rising.
What it shows is that the shutdown was not enough. We need more stringent measures. The data is showing we're in a very dangerous situation now.
The new restrictions will halt some construction work, but there are a lot of exemptions. Residential construction is allowed to continue. Masks become mandatory indoors at all businesses, and outdoor gatherings are now limited to a maximum of 5. The reaction to the restrictions?
They do not go far enough, not even close. I mean, we're facing right now really a complete collapse of the healthcare system in the coming weeks.
The new measures take effect Thursday at 12:01 a.m. They're to last at least 4 weeks. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
So what does this mean for a hotspot like Windsor-Essex? Well, we're one of the regions singled out, told to keep schools closed until at least February 10th. It pushes the return to school back even further than what had been previously planned. We bring in CBC's Jacob Barker now for more on this. Jacob, what does this mean for students and for parents?
Well, Chris, this return to school date has been a moving target for the last several weeks. We have heard from some parents recently that many of them prefer their kids in school because they're better motivated there. But on the other hand, parents have to work, and having kids at home can make it difficult to juggle things. One of the unions representing teachers locally says it thinks that this is a good idea, though it says that it will be difficult for families and teachers who prefer the in-person model.
As much as teachers and students rather be in the school, and I know parents would rather have their child in person education, and I think all of us would, The reality is the healthcare situation and the numbers in this area do not support that. And so we have to do our part.
Schools are a big part of this, but just one part. The province also putting in place further restrictions on businesses here as well. What are you hearing?
Well, construction is a key area that's going to be impacted moving forward because a number of limitations are being placed on some of these projects. With the new rules, people who want to have renovations done will have to put them on hold. That's if they haven't started them yet. So if you started a renovation before January 12th, that's today, that will be okay and the work can continue. But anyone planning to do a renovation after today will have to wait till after these restrictions are lifted. I spoke with the owner of one local business that deals with renovations, which is putting a couple of projects on hold and won't be able to start anymore. He says it will affect his clients who are counting on this work to be done, but also his 23 workers.
Luckily, we're in a pretty good place that we haven't ordered materials for these projects as of yet. So we're fairly safe. The problem really lies in terms of how long this goes on for. My main concern is, our workers that, that they're taken care of and they have work or at least income in order to support their families.
So essentially, non-essential construction is being restricted, but it will continue for things like construction within the healthcare sector, for example. So that's just one industry that will be feeling an extra pinch in this time. But everybody I spoke with does see the upside of this, and that, of course, is stemming the spread of the virus will allow people to get back to business as normal, hopefully much quicker. Chris?
Thanks, Jacob. CBC's Jacob Barker breaking down the restrictions locally for us. Now, as people in Ontario are told to stay at home, new cell phone data shows staying in place was not something the majority of people did over the holidays. It shows more people in Southern Ontario left their homes over Christmas than most of the province. That's according to a company that tracks the movement of people. Windsor-Essex has been in lockdown for a month now. But entering the gray zone, it didn't drastically change behavior, according to the province. Mobility data that health units have used in the past shows people are not staying home. Environics Analytics crunched the numbers. They used anonymized cell phone data to see how many people were out and about in different parts of Ontario. Out and about, that's 500 meters beyond your home postal code. Take a look at the amount of people who were out and about the week of Christmas. Windsor-Essex, Lambton, and Chatham-Kent topped the charts.
As we're seeing, the cases in these areas tend to be pretty high. And given that, the vast majority of people are out and about, it maybe explains some of that trend.
And while the majority of people are leaving their homes, there is a dip when you compare it to 2019, back before the pandemic.
We are seeing a reduction in mobility rates. So people, to some degree, have been staying home and following the regulations put in place. But another trend that we're also seeing in these regions is, as much as some people are staying home, the ones that are going out are actually staying out for longer, which indicates that they may be visiting friends or maybe a family and potentially not social distancing while they're out.
Medical experts say even with the limitations of the data, it helps contextualize why COVID-19 continues to rapidly spread in provincial hotspots.
Well, I think it's useful. It tells us some things, right? Like it tells us that people were traveling between health units, and whether that was for, shopping or whether that was for gathering. I think all of these things may have contributed to driving more transmission of the virus.
And that spread has now hit Essex Windsor EMS, their facility, an outbreak there. A total of 10 paramedics have tested positive for COVID-19, 2 linked to the outbreak, 8 of them linked to community spread. Officials say the employees infected did not have contact with patients. No change in service yet, but that could change if things get worse.
It's concerning. Because we don't have an infinite amount of staff to staff the ambulances, and this is my worry: is as it grows, we may lose resources and lose ambulances. So that is a concern. My first and foremost goal is to ensure that we have enough ambulances to serve the public of Windsor and Essex County.
And now that the health unit has finished bringing COVID-19 shots to those in long-term care homes, the rollout in retirement homes is well underway. 13 of the 24 homes in the region have been completed so far. Dale Molnar now on what's expected moving forward and the hope that comes with it.
All the staff and residents at Cardinal Place Retirement Home have received their first round of either Moderna or Pfizer vaccines.
Huge sigh of relief, huge. Just the sense that we could start to return to some normalcy after this starts to take effect.
It's been rough on the residents who haven't been able to see loved ones up close. Jeanette Reeves was glad to get the vaccine yesterday.
We were all excited because it's been such a terrible year for everyone. But when they started, it went so smooth.
Many residents are accepting the vaccine. We don't hear of too many refusals at this point, other than the fact that they're waiting for permission to receive the vaccine based on an illness. And we are circling back with the homes and trying to get as close to 100% compliance, not compliance, but coverage, I guess.
When it comes to the number of individuals at long-term care homes still needing the vaccine, the medical officer of health estimates only 10% of staff and residents were ineligible at first if they were sick or had symptoms, for example. To our question of whether incoming patients to long-term care or retirement homes can be vaccinated when they arrive, the health unit says only if 10 people come at a time. That's so no vaccine is wasted.
Vial is enough for 10 doses. So once the vial is punctured, it has to be used within 6 hours. So it's not a matter of one person is admitted or, has, received by the home that they would immediately get their vaccination. So we will work on a process.
The first round of the vaccinations are expected to be complete by this time next week. The second round will begin on January the 29th, but they'll need more doses to complete the process for all the homes. They're expecting another shipment of vaccine by the 1st of February. Reeves can hardly wait for the general public to be vaccinated.
Well, I have a granddaughter that I just love to death, and I just haven't even been able to see her. She can come and just look through the glass,
But the hope is in time they can finally hug once again. Dale Molnar, CBC News, Windsor.
Erie Shores Healthcare is speaking out after outrage over the vaccination of a PR executive last week. At the time, the hospital said it had made the shots available to their leadership team after frontline workers at the hospital got their shots. Now, a handful of days later, the CEO has come out with a new statement saying, in part, quote, "Once our frontline workers were invited to receive their vaccine, we had vaccination appointments available and doses that had to be administered quickly or they would have to be discarded, helping no one. Following provincial directives, we chose to vaccinate our administrative team. It would be completely irresponsible to do otherwise, given the frontline work our administration is called upon to do." Now, she added it's unfortunate one of the administrators shared the news of their vaccine on social media, saying that it created, quote, "confusion and a misconception that was not helpful." Since then, other hospitals in the region have also said vaccines were offered to senior management, prompting the health unit to say ethical guidelines were not being followed. COVID-19 cases across the country, they're still trending in the wrong direction. The pandemic continues to dictate the priorities, such as when more Canadians can hope to get their COVID-19 shot. It's reshaping norms, like the first ever cabinet shuffle to take place remotely. David Cochran has the details on the key announcements out of Ottawa today.
As the COVID situation darkens in many parts of the country, the vaccine story got a little brighter.
I can announce that we have reached an agreement with Pfizer to buy an additional 20 million doses of their COVID-19 vaccine,
which means deliveries should ramp up dramatically in April. Combined with existing doses and other vaccines expected to be approved, Canada is on track to vaccinate 20 million people by June. The target is everyone by September.
Obviously, if we can do it even quicker than that, that would be great news. The quicker everyone gets vaccinated, the quicker we're going to be able to get back to a semblance of normality.
Thank you for joining us today.
As Canada bolstered its vaccine supply, the Prime Minister shuffled his cabinet in historic remote fashion.
Excellency, may we proceed?
A move precipitated by Navdeep Bains' decision to not seek re-election and leave cabinet.
It's time for me to put my family first, and I couldn't be happier about it.
With Baines to the backbench, changes to the front bench. Francois-Philippe Champagne to industry. Marc Garneau replaces Champagne in foreign affairs. Omar Al-Gabra joins cabinet as the transportation minister, while Jim Carr is back in cabinet as the prime minister's advisor on prairie issues. Baines' departure is fueling some speculation of a spring election, but the Prime Minister downplayed that today, saying it's his preference to wait until the majority of Canadians are vaccinated before going to the polls. David Cochrane, CBC News, Ottawa.
It's been 21 days since the first vaccinations for COVID-19 took place here in Windsor-Essex. That means that most of those initial recipients got their second doses today. CBC's Sanjay Maru spoke with two of them about what it means to them and how they're feeling.
I'm feeling good, actually. I have not had any side effects at all.
I feel honored and blessed that I'm able to protect my residents and my staff here.
It's been a very huge honor for me, just for everything that I've gone through in the past little while with my family and everything. My father ended up on passing away from it, and it was a long few months to watch.
Tomorrow, the second set of my staff that were coming in after me, they will start with the Pfizer.
For the staff who will be getting their second dose of the vaccine tomorrow, what's the mood like over there at the facility?
My office has been very busy. How do you feel? How does it feel? Did it feel like first time? Now that I actually have the second one, the people who were a little skeptical about getting it are trying to get on board.
It gives me so much hope to know that, it's out there and it's going into the public, and we've got hope to fight this fight. We're all in this together, and we just gotta keep fighting.
The big auto show in Detroit will not happen again this year because of the continuing pandemic. A look at some of the displays from the last event back in 2019. Now, last year was supposed to be the first time that the event was held in June instead of January, but it had to be scrapped. Show organizers say this year's edition is going to be replaced by an outdoor exhibit at a racetrack in Pontiac in September. The new event this fall, it's going to be called Motor Bella. Stay with us. When we come back, Colette Kennedy brings us the full forecast. Joining us now for a live look at the weather is Colette Kennedy. It's dipping below freezing and it's cold out there overnight.
You know what? Yeah, there's a bit of a damp feel to the air too. And so because of that, even if the temperatures aren't always reflecting it, it does feel certainly cooler. So that's something we have to think about. But we can also remind ourselves, hey, considering where we are in mid-January, we are still looking at temperatures above seasonal. Today up to -1 for our daytime high, -4 was our low this morning. A little bit of light drizzle and flurries. We're seeing those more kind of to the east than we really have back here towards Windsor-Essex, but some wet flurries, certainly that potential tonight. We have had a little bit of mist being reported as well. The temperatures do carry on as mild. They may not feel steamy, I know, but they carry on with that pattern. And we get into, I want to say, a more significant system, but really it's just more than what we've seen. And it's a weak system at that that's going to be coming in on Friday, but some mixed precipitation kind of coming our way. Let's just say it's something a little more organized than what we have been experiencing with our weather patterns here. The current temperature is -1. We factor those southwesterly winds in, which will be a little breezy towards tomorrow morning. Again, feels like -6. Chatham-Kent feeling like -8. So that's where we get into that kind of cool feel. And again, because there's a bit of a cold dampness to the air as well. Freezing drizzle advisories, I just point that out for those that do need to travel. There are some where it is crucial. And if you are going to be traveling anywhere towards the London region, you're going to be finding that you get into the advisory areas where there's a little bit more of that freezing drizzle. So it's just light precipitation that's freezing on contact. The treated roads, fine, but we'll find that some of the overpasses and sidewalks can be a little bit slippery. We could see some of that stretching back our way through the overnight and early morning hours tomorrow, but more likely we're going to get into some of these wet flurries. The cloud cover, I know that's a big question. When are we losing that? Is it going to get out of here? Well, I try and find the bright spots. Like, for example, tomorrow afternoon, a slim chance, especially towards Leamington, you might see a little bit of sun kind of breaking through, a few little sunny breaks. They'll be short-lived at that, so we do have a lot of cloud cover that holds on into Thursday morning. Another chance, a better one, frankly, where we could see a little bit of sun to start off with, but then it's going to be into Friday, Thursday night into Friday. That next system is going to be moving in here with some light precipitation. Your temperatures overnight tonight, so look at this, -1. Definitely going to be milder and very steady with our temperature essentially. And then the southwesterly flow, hey, it's picking those temperatures up. So a mild day, not just Wednesday, but Thursday. Look at this, a daytime high of 5 degrees coming our way, Chris.
There it is. Well, something to look forward to, I guess. Something, a little positivity there. Isn't that the idea?
Yes, that is something to look forward to.
There it is. Thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
Now, something else to look forward to. We popped into a restaurant to see how they're managing during this very difficult time. We'll take you there with us next.
p.m.
U.S. President Donald Trump emerged from the White House to visit a section of his border wall in Texas. It's his first public appearance since last week's deadly mob attack on Capitol Hill.
Unlike those who came before me, I kept my promises. And today we celebrate an extraordinary milestone, the completion of the promised 450 miles of border wall.
Now, that wall, a signature promise in his 2016 campaign, still remains largely under construction and includes many older sections. His trip to the U.S.-Mexico border is seen mostly as a symbolic gesture as he tries to make the wall a legacy of his single-term presidency. Trump is taking no responsibility for inciting his supporters in last Wednesday's violence in Washington. 5 people, including a Capitol police officer, were killed in the siege on January 6th. Today, House Democrats are pushing VP Mike Pence to invoke the 25th Amendment to quickly remove Trump from office. Democrats say they have enough support to go ahead with an impeachment vote tomorrow. Running a restaurant in the middle of a pandemic has been trying for many. At the Walker Grill, they've managed to stay afloat with takeout and delivery. That means there's still a lunch rush, even if it looks a little different. CBC was invited in to see how they're powering through under these difficult circumstances.
Walker Grill. So when customers come in and they know who to expect and what to expect out of us, we like it. It touches heart, right? It's not a business transaction anymore. It's more of a relationship, and you're doing it with passion. Because we do have a great clientele base that supported us from day one, and they're the most loyal that we can get. I mean, they've been through this with us all the way through the pandemic, during the pandemic, and they continue to support us. Considering everything, I'm good. We felt a huge impact, and like everyone else, obviously, and we're gonna be optimistic, and we're gonna keep our head up and just keep going through it. Appreciate it.
That's it for us here at CBC Windsor News. Don't forget, for news anytime, you can go to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. On there, we have the latest updates on the new restrictions, the new regulations as the province invokes that stay-at-home order. We're on social media as well. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The Rick Mercer Report is up next. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.